What's up, everyone? Sean here, and welcome to another episode of the Hawke Talks. Today, I wanted to sit down and talk about the yearly fighting game tournament, the biggest one still, I guess you can say, and that is EVO. EVO 2020 is, that much closer than ever now with the announcement and reveal of the lineup of this year just happened. I'm literally recording right after the show, and there were some, a couple of surprises that were pretty cool, like seeing Mike Ross make it back in there. Good to see him make a return of sorts. And of course, Joey was there. No surprise on that part. Unfortunately, Mark Man wasn't there. I felt like he was also, a part of the reveals and stuff. It would have been nice to see the three of them together in one sitting, but it is what it is, I guess, in that part. But the most important part, of course, is, well, the games. Here they are. And, of course, there's always the topic of, or the outcries and stuff like that, the reactions that, express the controversies or related to the controversies of the games not being there. But first off, I'll just read off what has been said for the roster for this year. So obviously we have, I'm going to go from left to right and downward and stuff like that. So Under Night in Birth makes a return from its first debut as a main EVO game. It's always been a side tournament sort of thing, but the community, at least according to Joey anyway, has always been good, always been flourishing and stuff like that. So I guess it's a welcoming return for In Birth, and of course they're coming out with the new update expansion sort of thing now called Uniclear, and so that's something I do kind of look forward to because I do want to try that myself because it would be my first time trying out Under Night. So it would be kind of neat to try to kind of get my feet wet. Excuse me for my English. Get my feet wet when it comes to Under Night. So it'd be pretty cool. I like to try out characters like Enkidu and stuff like that. I think he looks like the coolest one to me, just from appearance wise. But anyway, Uniclear is in there, so that's cool. Congrats to them on that for another year of Under Night. And then next up we have Smash Ultimate. That's no brainer. It's such a big game on multiple factors or multiple levels. The community is there. Obviously the consumer side of things is big. It's definitely one of the best-selling Nintendo games of all time, especially on the Switch. It's Smash Brothers, so I definitely gotta have it there some way or somehow. Obviously Melee can't make it back in there just because I guess the old nature of things, and Ultimate deserves the spotlight. All in all, if we're gonna choose one of them, it's gotta be Ultimate just because it's the new game and you gotta I guess stay present with the times. And so, Ultimate is the one making it back in there. No return of having two Smash games in there. Understandably so, as much as I would love to have Melee back in there, because I do love watching some Melee, especially during around EVO times, because that's when a lot of good moments happen, just because it's the biggest tournament around. It's got that pedigree, and so people will have that motivation. And so cool things really happen around Melee, but there are plenty of cool things going to be happening with Ultimate, I'm sure. And so good to see that Ultimate made it back in there. Again, with no surprise. I would like to see how the meta evolves with the characters. Like, let's see where Byleth stands and the rest of the DLC characters after the 7.0 patch and possibly more patches along the way. So we'll see. But again, cool to see Smash Brothers in there. Fighters, That's the next one. I guess that's like the biggest surprise to me because of what's been happening around fighters and the activity around it, not necessarily with the players and all. There are plenty of cool storylines and stuff like that for Goichi and Sonic Fox and Fanrich and Kazunoko and all that stuff, but I feel like the excitement, the energy that's been around fighters was so explosive at first, and then it really died down. At least from my view, I could be wrong. That's just from what I'm seeing anyway. Obviously, I'm not super into the games, which is why probably I'm, turning a blind eye on some things. But I really I felt like that fighters was kind of like dwindling down. But nonetheless, it's back in there. I mean, we still have updates coming, like Ultra Instinct Goku coming. It's pretty much confirmed. The scans from the Jump magazine. It's pretty much nailing it, and so we're seeing another Goku, and it's probably gonna be another good character, and so along with GT Goku or Kid Goku or whatever, Ultra Instinct Goku is gonna stand along that Goku, and it's gonna be just Goku fighters, as people would like to joke about. But anyway, but I do like the storylines around it. I mean, it was cool when Goichi won last year, so I would like to kind of peek into the players here and there, I guess, and kind of like look over what's happening while at EVO, assuming that I would be there, but we'll get into that later on. But nonetheless, though, Dragon Ball FighterZ, it's in there, much to my surprise, only because of like one, the energy around it, but two, the whole licensing issue with Shueisha / Toei and all that other stuff. I'm still surprised no one really explained what's been happening around that. No community management sort of explaining things, or the PR or anything like that. Nothing, or HR, I don't know. Anyway, there's been nothing been cleared up or anything like that. We just still don't know who's like really causing these issues with, Dragon Ball FighterZ, and so I'm still surprised that it made it back in here, but I'm not like completely cynical or against it or anything like that. It's just much to my surprise because the whole issue around it, and of course the overall like energy around it. But who knows? Maybe we'll see some cool things relating to Dragon Ball. Probably some announcements. I don't know. We'll definitely see about that. Up next is another no-brainer, which is Tekken 7. It's been another favorite amongst other such games, and so Tekken it's got to be in there. I mean, it's always really excited to watch. The energy around it's much more invigorating. When it comes to like the moment-to-moment sort of things, not necessarily like the consumer side of things, but we got like Tasty Steve and Rip and Ricksta and Eris and Markman, really making sure, and I'm sure that and there's other commentators I'm forgetting to mention. Apologize for that, but point being, the people around there merely make sure that the energy just really carries on, and it definitely is one of those games that's gotta be in there. The game itself is really cool. I've kind of a while back played it with Jack 7, my boy, and still is fun to me as ever. I like the new stuff that they've offered for everyone pretty much, and then of course the new characters like Leroy. Hopefully that situation gets settled, but Vakram is coming, so hopefully he'll be part of the exciting moments, and we'll see what kind of moments with the players will spawn at EVO. There's always been some really cool moments like Tasty Steve like ripping Rip's arm or something like that. I don't know. We'll see about that. But anyway, maybe it'll completely come off the socket. I hope that doesn't go too far. But you know what I mean. Like he gets really excited, and so it kind of like just feeds off of other, or it kind of just bounces off of to other people, and including myself, admittedly. And so it's just that much more exciting. Even just the game itself is exciting for me. That's more up my alley. And so again, this is just another no-brainer. This is another big surprise, which is Marvel 2. This is a bit more of a unique situation because it is not entirely an actual main game per se, because it's only for top 8. I guess how this is going to work is, well, the 4 players are already invited, so the EVO champions such as, I believe he said Justin Wong, Yipes, Sanford, and Duck are making it there already, so that's pretty cool. I am familiar with those names, including Duck, so because of very memorable video on YouTube with the Cable, Hyper Viper Beam, Happy Birthday sort of moment. Very I guess you can say a very attaching moment, I guess you can say, for myself, because I do play some Cable myself in Marvel 2. But anyway, that it's pretty cool, in my opinion, because I would like to see the older games kind of rotate around for EVO from now on. I would love to see like Marvel 3 make it back in there, maybe some Capcom versus SNK 2, maybe even Third Strike, something like that along those lines. But for what we have here, it's kind of interesting with the top 8 of Marvel 2 rather than having a full-on tournament as a main game. But it is interesting though with EVO altogether, because there's only 8 games, but I guess we'll get into that later on. But anyways, Marvel 2 is another cool game. It's one of those things where it's deeply rooted for EVO, and it's definitely one of the games that really like kind of set EVO, in my opinion, along with Melee, and maybe a couple other games. But I really feel like Marvel and EVO really like kind of go together because of the moments, the rivalries, and just things around it. Is just it really helped set root for EVO, in my opinion, thanks to games like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and of course Marvel vs. Capcom 3 kind of took it a little further, in my opinion. So very, very cool on that. And interesting to see nonetheless. So we have the Tournament of Champions. It's officially called for Marvel 2 as part of the lineup, I guess you can say. It's in the official lineup posters or graphics, so it's kind of again it's just like a more of a unique situation for a game like Marvel 2. But yeah, anyways, hopefully they can play around with that more as the years pass by, later, for now on, I guess. Next one up is another no-brainer, which is Street Fighter, specifically Street Fighter 5 Champion Edition. I have been, liking it so far. Of course, the main competitors been liking it a lot more. Even like the people who kind of dropped off from Street Fighter are coming back to this, and they've been having some positive opinions about it. So I think it's very deserving. It's pretty much where it should be now. I really feel like this should have been the Street Fighter that we've been playing a long time ago, but when it first came out. But it is what it is. That time has passed, I guess, and so we're here now, and so the Champion Edition is here, and it definitely will show up for EVO, and can't wait to see what characters can do for EVO, or just competitive play in general, because Capcom Cup hasn't started quite yet. I think it'll start in March, I believe, and the ball will be rolling from there. Can't wait to see more Gills, and hopefully we'll see some Seth stuff going on, and of course the rest of the characters. Let's see how the meta sort of shifts around, stuff like that. Hopefully we'll see more characters that were missing the spotlight and now coming back or coming in for this year. Like, Sakura, for example, she won EVO Japan of this year, so that's really cool. Hopefully we can see more moments like that later on, especially for EVO when that comes up. Another sort of semi-surprise, let's say, for this one is SOULCALIBUR 6. SOULCALIBUR 6 has been exciting, at least to a great extent. And at the time when I was playing it, I do like it. But I'm sure it has evolved a little further with all the updates and stuff like that, the new characters that have been coming in, and Harumaru is gonna show up soon enough. And so and we still have a couple characters coming in, I believe, for the DLC lineup, and who knows who will show up for that. So it's kind of exciting in that sense. But anyway, the game and the people around it, the community and stuff like that, have been doing a good job, I think, and I think it deserves a spot, because overall I think they're doing a pretty good job as a competitive / exciting game / just a good game all around. So I think seeing SOULCALIBUR 6 back in there is a sight to see, a sight for sore eyes, and definitely deserves it. Point being, so this one is one of the newcomers, definitely, or it is the newcomer, I should say. Why am I even beating around the bush? This is indeed GRANBLUE Fantasy Versus. It's gonna be the first year. It hasn't even released just yet, and yet it's showing up on the graphic here for the main lineup. And I would say, well, cool, because I like GRANBLUE very much as a franchise. I've been playing the original mobile game on the computer, and I do like it for what it is. It's a gacha mobile JRPG with some really pretty simple and yet fun elements in there in terms of gameplay and just the characters. I really do like the character designs, and I do like the gameplay side of things. The aesthetics, when it comes to like the sprites and all that stuff, could be a little better in my opinion. But when it comes to the actual the fighting game that we're supposed to be talking about here, is so far anyway, it's looking pretty good. I do like the graphics on it. I mean, of course, Strive is getting more love for it, but still here, I feel that the game looks good, just from looking at it. And I've had some thoughts about the whole like debacle about the release date and the release sort of practices that Exceed and I guess Side Games, I don't know, has been doing and stuff like that, which basically is releasing the game a month later for the US side of things, or the Western side of things, I should say, which is a little disappointing, or leaves a little sour taste in my mouth for me, because they should have just released the game as is, you know what I mean? Like, they have the English text already, so just like release it, man. And for the people who like English voices in their games, could look forward to it later on in a update patch or whatever for free. That should have been the practice. That, in my opinion, that should have happened with GRANBLUE. So that way, everyone can get the game and everyone can start learning evenly. In a normal manner, I guess, and that way you don't have anyone waiting or anything like that. But unfortunately, they just chose to wait for the English voices to be done, the audio localization side of things, and so that resulted with the Western side of things getting the game a month later, which for the competitors it could hurt, because the US players could be at a disadvantage in a way if they don't want to take the alternate route, which is to have a Japanese account / Asian account for the PlayStation and or PC, I don't know, to download the game there. But I don't know, it's kind of dumb. I felt like they should have really release the game as is, as long as the English text is there, and then worry about the voices later on in these kind of situations. Because, you know, at this point, like, no one really cares about Japanese voices too much. They're not gonna hark on anything like that. They can read their way, so that's fine. It's a JRPG. There's the RPG mode anyway, so there's gonna be reading no matter what. And it's a fighting game, so you know, the Japanese voices just only add to the whole atmosphere, the aesthetics, and things like that. I'll probably make a separate video about it regarding to the situation. But back onto here as a EVO game, cool, awesome. You know, I would like to see it at as a main lineup game, and hopefully, you know, we'll see some cool things, of course, and let's see how the community evolves from there. You know, kind of planting a seed, and hopefully grow from there. Hopefully it doesn't like kind of die off instantly after a year or two, but we'll see about that. I guess it's really up to how Side Games / Xseed handles things, and hopefully, especially with the DLC, hopefully they'll come up at the same time for everyone, so that way everyone, at least in those areas, can, you know, kind of start learning at the same time. Otherwise, Japan will have a severe advantage over the US players, especially for those who don't want to go through the hassle of having to create the whole Japanese account and everything. So anyways, cool on GRANBLUE Fantasy. I you know, hope things will thrive from there, and as someone who likes GRANBLUE, hopefully it'll work out, you know, for everyone. So lastly, this is another a semi-surprise, let's just say, and that's Samurai Showdown. Samurai Showdown, it's kind of really hard to say for me as to how the community is revolving around this, you know, but this is the SNK community, I guess. I'm not like a huge fighting game or community expert by any means. I'm just pointing out from what I can see from my view. So if you guys can provide your own input of how, you know, community handles their own games, how they feel about them for each game, please leave it down in the comment section below. I love to, you know, kind of take note on that if anyone is willing to take the time to do so. But anyways, Samurai Showdown, you know, as someone who did play the game myself, at least for a little bit, it's very excruciating, very intense because of the damage that could be put out, and the moments that could be had, you know, including the counter damage. It's really high. It's really ridiculous. Even if you have, like, you know, a pretty full bar, you know, pretty good amount of health, you can just die in a couple of seconds if you are not too careful. And those are kind of moments that, you know, people try to fish out and build off their excitement from there. And it essentially is like a samurai sort of movie, because, you know, it just takes one moment, and, you know, we'll see who dies, or who lives and who dies, or who wins and loses, you know, that sort of thing. But, you know, Samurai Showdown, for what it is, I think it's cool. I think it's a more than a decent game, and, you know, I don't feel anything cynical towards the game as a main lineup for, you know, for EVO. I think it's cool. I respect it, and you know, especially with the legacy that it has carried from a long time ago, and and so I think it definitely, yeah, I think it deserves a spot. But now, this is where the sort of the controversy talk comes in, and some surprises that I do want to address. The biggest shocker I do want to address right away is having no Mortal Kombat at EVO, especially with MK11. You know, it's the newest upcoming game, you know, that came out, you know, or that was in the lineup from last year's EVO, and I think it was, you know, good, and the community and the game around it is still solid for what it is, despite the whole neutral heavy sort of approach that the game is taking. I think the game community still handles it well. There's still a lot of excitement around it. People watching and stuff like that. But it's also not hard to say what factors could come into play as to why it's not there over other games. People like to say it's money, and I really like to go against that, because we have to remember that Mortal Kombat is under WB Games, and WB Games not having the money to put it at EVO, that's kind of baffling, you know what I mean? And so, especially if you're gonna compare to companies like SNK, you know what I mean? Like, they're not exactly the biggest money robbing company out there when it comes to fighting games. I guess maybe, maybe they weren't willing to put that much money. I don't know, man. I mean, who knows? Who really knows? These situations, I kind of discussed it with a couple people on Twitter. It's always hard to say what really replaced what. You know what I mean? And we don't have any proof. There's no obvious signs or anything like that. And so who are we to say what replaced what at the end of things? Now, yes, it's, fun to speculate on things, but I'm okay with that. But if you're really going to seriously say that, Samurai Showdown replaced Mortal Kombat 11, is like, well, where's the proof? Where's your evidence in that? And so, for me anyway, I don't like to say things like that. As much as I would like to, kind of play around with the subject, but the idea around it is kind of ridiculous in my opinion. And of course, back onto the whole money thing, I think definitely MK would have won everyone over that, if we're really gonna talk money here. Next one up would probably be Namco, and then maybe Capcom. I don't know, but if we're gonna talk about money here, MK would have automatically been in there because WB Games. If they really wanted to put down that much money, they could. But I think the whole money talks thing is out of question for me. I think there are other factors that come into play, and I think that one of the biggest ones is the violence. All these games have something in common, and that's the lack of violence. At least very visual, gory violence that these games lack. And then you say, oh, well, what about Samurai Showdown? We have a lot of blood spraying around and stuff like that. But people kind of forget that you can actually turn that off for Samurai Showdown. So they had the option to do so, so therefore they are actually safe to be a part of the lineup. If the violence is one of the factors of being a part of the main lineup here. And so, going off of that, definitely Mortal Kombat 11 will definitely be much more shaky on that, because, well, we know how much violence that game has, especially with the crushing blows, the fatalities, and the X-rays and all that stuff. That definitely would play a big factor if that's the case. The violence is definitely there. The violence and the gore and all that stuff is definitely there. They've been always going too far with it. Let's just say over the top. Very expressive sort of violence. That, not that I'm against, of course, but it definitely does take it very far when it comes to violence in video games and stuff like that. They go all out to the point of being goofy, sure, but it's still pretty gross for a number of people. And so, understandably, with the whole esports sort of nature nowadays, I think it would make sense as to why MK11 would not make it back in there. And so, again, assuming that is the factor for a game like this, I think it probably is time to kind of work around that. And so I know, and then yes, of course, Mortal Kombat has always been known for the violence. That's one of the main staples. And so I think they should just have an option to turn it off. that, or turn on like esports mode or tournament mode. That way you can still have the game in your main lineup, whatever it is, like EVO or and whatnot. If they really care that much, if, I'm sure there are other tournaments that really don't care about the esports sort of cleanliness or the sterile nature of that they want to give off for the sake of the audience that are sort of outside of things. But nonetheless, though, I think there should always be options, and so you should always be flexible, be adaptive to kind of blend in with the environment, get with the time, sort of thing. And again, if this is really the case, I mean, why not? Throw in that option, and so that it can alternate the blood, I guess, or the color at least, or alternate the animations, and of course turn off fatalities for the sake of things. I think we've seen plenty of times, from the trailers and the streamers that play Mortal Kombat, or just playing it by ourselves, offline in other tournaments or at your home or locals or whatever. We've seen enough of that, so I think we can definitely live without fatalities at one tournament, which is the EVO. Turn them off. That could be one of the things that could help games like Mortal Kombat stay relevant within the EVO sort of lineup, I guess. But it is to say that Mortal Kombat is kind of up there in terms of like how much people kind of interact around it, I believe. But there has been word as of late, from what I'm hearing, that at least on Twitch streams anyway, not a whole lot of people watch it for some reason. I don't know. That could be wrong. If anyone can provide insight on that, please let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to know more about that. But yes, it's sad to see Mortal Kombat not making it in there. It's just weird, because it hasn't been too long for Mortal Kombat. We've seen it for once. For one EVO so far, and then already it's just knocked off for now. It could be because of the violence, but also it could be other factors that we don't know. From the business side of things, there could be some sort of dispute between, I don't know, some of the developers and Joey, or maybe the community manager and Joey, or someone around NRS and Joey. Who knows? Who are we to say what happened, or what game replaced Mortal Kombat or anything like that? I don't think that should be the conversation of things. I think, we should look at different things, like, well, what could we do to have Mortal Kombat back in there, or anything else different. It's always sad to see other games not making it back in there, but otherwise there are reasons that become obvious soon after, including Mortal Kombat, and then there's Melee, of course, and so now that I guess Melee and Mortal Kombat are probably going to be at the same bar, and then Melee is going to buy Mortal Kombat a drink or something just to cheer him up or something like that. But there's always next year, and I feel like with the support that Mortal Kombat could get, possibly, I think it's still going to be relevant. I think it's going to be active still, and with the newer sort of development cycle that NRS games have been approaching with when it comes to these games, I think Mortal Kombat 11 will still be around. With a new set of DLC characters, maybe new modes, maybe new something with gameplay mechanic related stuff. Who knows? I feel like definitely it definitely has a strong chance making it back in there for next year. From what I can predict, or what I feel for Mortal Kombat 11. I think the game itself was fun at the time for me, but I feel like it's a little bit harder for me to get into Mortal Kombat games because of other factors when it comes to the gameplay side of things. But watching it is to at least some degree for me is exciting to watch, you know. And so and of course the legacy around it, I understand it. And so Mortal Kombat not being at EVO is strange to me, especially with the nature of or the new sort of nature around MK11, and we're already not seeing it at EVO, which is like, whoa. And now, to me, was the biggest surprise at EVO. So, unfortunate, and I'm terribly sorry for the NRS community to kind of go through that, because, you know, EVO is the biggest tournament in the world, but there are definitely other games, or excuse me, other tournaments that will show off MK11 as the main game. I think it'll still get, you know, the similar love that Melee has, and hopefully, you know, this doesn't demotivate people to be like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna fall off the game. Why, you know, why should I be playing this game still if things like this happen or whatever? I do understand if this is a big demotivator for a number of players, but you know, I think the game still will be able to have love, you know, because of like CEO and stuff like that. Combo Breaker, I believe, will still have the Mortal Kombat round, and so all is not should not be lost. And hopefully, you know, Mortal Kombat 11 can, you know, come back around for EVO 2021, but we'll see. What's a little sad actually is I almost forgot one game to mention before I actually wrap all things up, and that is the game called BB Tag. I've, you know, given some good word back in the day, but I haven't been playing it as of late. You know, we've kind of been active on other games and stuff like that, and it kind of sucks because I haven't actually touched Blitz Tank as much of I kind of talked about it to my friends that I would, but I haven't because no one's playing it. So it's a little sad for me, but it also is sad not seeing it at EVO as a main lineup game. But that one's a little more understandable because I don't know. I think it just hasn't held together as something that would be a EVO game. You know what I mean? Not that to say it's a bad game to spectate or whatever. There's some crazy things to check out with the whole combos and what people do with these two characters and stuff like that. It's just maybe it might be too crazy for its own good, but who is to say? I don't know. Like, I feel like that's a weird argument to say. I think it's just the nature of other games kind of overshadowing BB Tag at this point. I think it had a good run, in my opinion, and I'm kind of okay in understanding when it comes to that, as much as it kind of saddens me to say, because I did play a good amount of BB Tag a while back, but you know, you know, it's in it, you know, hasn't even showed off the, you know, the big DLC or like that, and I don't know, like. The new BB Tag haven't gotten a good chance to just sort of like really shine like some of the hardcore players would want it to. And not having it in the main lineup now is, you know, it's, yes, sad, but this one's a little more understandable. I think it's just time for to move on, I guess. You know, we do have another ArcSys fighting game, which is GRANBLUE, so I think maybe that might have replaced it. I don't know. Again, who knows about these situations? What replaced what? Who are we to say? I mean, beyond speculation, I mean, that's always fun to have in conversations, but, you know, who the hell knows what happened, what could have been the factor that ultimately, you know, put BB Tag in the back burner, along with games like Mortal Kombat and stuff like that. Meanwhile, there are some other sort of factors I do like to kind of mention from the reveal video or whatever, and that's kind of like the slip ups that Joey had with some of the things that he wanted to say.
All right, so the third game in EVO 2020 is a game that has been a staple for many years at EVO. It's definitely around to stay, and they're in their, I believe, their 4th season of content, and it's Street Fighter V.
I think it's 5th.
Like Harumaru from, I don't know, like...
and they got their like new season 2 content coming out. They got new characters like Genfu and just Harumaru from
Samurai Showdown.
Yeah, sorry.
I think he had like a brain fart or something like that. I think he wanted to say certain things, but words got tangled up, and those things happen. It's funny. Joey is kind of known to say such things, and so people like to kind of like hang on to that and use that as sort of ammo to throw hate on Joey and stuff. So that's just one more thing, I guess, besides the next one I like to mention, and it's the way Joey brought up the legends, you know what I mean, or the little champions. And I think because I was listening to this in the car, I hope I didn't hear this correctly, but when he brought up the champion of Smash Ultimate of last year, which is MKLeo from Mexico, he just kind of said the guy from Mexico, I believe. I hope I misheard that, because that's not a way to address the champion. Like, come on, dude. Like, that is straight up disrespectful. Like,
What do you have a personal favorite moment of EVO last year, EVO Worlds 2019?
Let's see. I did like the Smash Brothers Ultimate Finals reset. I thought that was really cool. Guy from Mexico came back to win it all, and it was super awesome.
MKLeo?
Yeah, MKLeo, super awesome.
Other than that, though, I was a little disappointed that there were no sort of reveals or anything like that for this time around. But I'm sure there will be reveals of sorts for fighting games later on in the year, especially maybe during E3. But I think more or less, during EVO itself, I think that's where they're saving it. I don't know, like. So I do look forward to that. I would like to try to do some reactions, whether I'm over there or in the comfort of my home. We'll see about that, and we'll definitely see something at EVO. But yeah, here didn't happen. A little disappointing. So the show itself kind of felt short, a little underwhelming on that side of things, but it did its job, which is to reveal the main lineup of the games and also remind people when to sign up for it, or when the event itself is happening, where it's happening, and all that fun jazz. And so it's at the Mandalay Bay once again, of course. I don't really have any problem with that. I do wish it'll take place in California at some point, but I think it has, if I'm correct. I don't know. Maybe it's always been in Vegas. I don't know. But it despite that, I think I would love to go for this year. I think I do want to make this sort of announcement. I guess now's the time. Maybe I'll do another. I'll probably say it again in another video, but I think this is the last time that I would like to prioritize my sort of trip yearly around for EVO. Honestly, this is going to be my 5th time going to EVO, and that's like a pretty good number, right? For your average Joe. For someone who competes or is enthusiastic about, these tournaments and stuff like that, and probably that's like a small number to them. But for me, someone like me, probably a pretty good number. 5 years, you know what I mean? I think that's a pretty good number. I like that. So for this time, for the sake of things, I would like to prioritize my time and schedule and stuff like that for this year's EVO. 2020, I think that's a cool kind of number sort of thing, and have that under my belt, and hopefully, everything around it will go smoothly, like the security check and all that stuff, the artist alley, the booths and all that stuff, maybe the panels, hopefully those will go smoothly again, and or even better. Hopefully they'll improve on that. But there's always something that's gonna take the bullet to make it bad or something like that, and hopefully it won't go too out of hand. I hope to God that we have security for the after party too, because the whole situation with the roofie and stuff like that and people's drinks, no bueno, man. Like, that's honestly super scary to me, because like, what if like we decide to go in there for a moment and then, oh, I'm thirsty, I'm gonna give myself a little drink, and then you just happen to grab that one drink, and then it's like, dude, like, you're gonna get knocked the hell out, consuming that sort of thing. And who knows what dangers could happen if you're dead ass or whatever. So not cool. I hope they address that. Yeah, because they haven't, talked about that, which is pretty disappointing, if I must say. But point being, hopefully the security for both during EVO and during the after party is, on point. Let's just say. Hopefully there's no incident of any kind for this coming EVO, and I hope everyone has a good time. That's the most important thing for everyone, in my eyes. And so, I think that's pretty much it for me for now for EVO's lineup reveal. I think this is a overall a good lineup. I mean, it's these things always hard to give every game that love. There are plenty other games that deserve to make it back in there, but it's always hard, and I do understand that, and it takes time, resources to get all these things going and stuff. So you can't have 10. It would be nice, but it's hard. I understand that. And there will be some picks that will always be controversial to somebody, right? And this time around, Mortal Kombat not being there, that's the biggest shocker this time around. So unfortunate for the NRS community. And then last year was I think last year was Melee not being there. But yeah, hopefully we see some improvements. We see EVO being successful once again. And hopefully these games go smoothly. Most importantly, like the tournament itself, the whole brackets, the judges, and all that stuff. Everything else goes smoothly. And gotta have the water, man. Gotta have the free water. Oh my gosh, that was definitely good. But I like to see improvements around it. Maybe provide a little more fountains. I don't know. But these things can always be better, and hopefully those things get addressed somehow. All right, so anyways, this is gonna go too long. I could probably talk about EVO all night, but as much as I'd like to, I would like to let you guys go. Thank you guys so much for your time, and this has been my opinion on EVO's lineup reveal for 2020. Pretty solid lineup. I know it's always some sad moments, but anyway, if you have any comments, anything related to EVO for this time around or this year anyway, leave it down below. Love to see them. And if you're going to EVO, or if you're looking forward to watching EVO and like that, again, I would like to prioritize myself going to EVO, at least for one last time. After that, it's not saying that, oh, I'm gonna completely not go to EVO anymore, but if other stuff comes up, or if I want to go somewhere else, then I'm going to go somewhere else and not go to EVO, for that time. I don't know. But it really all depends on, what comes up in my life, what my situation is from there on. And, yeah, we'll see. Time can only tell. But anyways, we'll probably see more about EVO maybe later on. Maybe some little trinkets here and there of like, oh, we're gonna have this at EVO, the panels and stuff like that. So, anyways, Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Really helps out. Really appreciate it, guys. And again, this has been my opinion on EVO's lineup reveal for EVO 2020. So hope to see you guys there. But nonetheless, I hope to see you guys next time in the next video. Sean out.